So today I'm going to be talking about how to set personal boundaries. Boundaries, I feel, has become such a buzzword. Like everybody and their mommy, auntie, uncle, daddy is talking about boundaries. But what really are boundaries and why should we have them and how can we set them? That's what we're talking about in this video. So if you want to know these things, then watch this. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to subscribe. We do amazing things on this channel. And if this is not your first time, then I am super excited to have you back. The only reason I'm here is because you're here, so keep coming back. So, what are personal boundaries? Think of personal boundaries like lines that you draw around yourself to protect yourself and also to determine what is okay, what is not okay. So, think of it like you're inside a bubble that everything inside of the bubble is good things that you like, and everything on the outside of the bubble is things that you don't like and you're not okay with. That is essentially what personal boundaries are. It's your way of defining how it is okay to treat you, how it is okay to relate with you, and all the things that are a hard no for you, all the things that you are not accepting. Now, obviously, with personal boundaries, there are hard boundaries, there are soft boundaries, and there's context to it, is what I'm trying to say. There are boundaries that you set for specific people, there are boundaries that are hard, and you're not taking that from anybody at all. And yeah, there are also things that are not hard boundaries, they're just like soft boundaries. So, for example, a soft boundary could be that you don't take calls before 8 a.m. And that's a soft boundary because you also recognize that there will be some occasions where it would be necessary for you to take a call before 8 a.m. And a hard boundary, for example, would be, let's say in a relationship, that cheating is a deal breaker for you, right? That's a hard boundary. So it doesn't matter who you're in a relationship with, or what their explanation is. If they cheat on you, that's a no, and you're not going to take that. So that's just sort of an example of what boundaries are. Now, the question is, why are boundaries important, right? Why are boundaries important? I think it goes without saying, but boundaries are important because it is your way to protect yourself, your way to control the narratives around your life and the things that are okay, like I said, and things that are not okay. The world is wicked. And I say this without mincing words. The world is wicked. People are unruly. And it is your responsibility to protect the space around you, to protect your peace. And yes, just to make sure that you're safe within the context of what you define safety to look like for your own self. And it is important because you cannot live a life that does not have rules, and a life where absolutely anything goes. That is a recipe for disaster and a surefire way to become a doormat and have people walk all over you. You don't want that. I don't want that for myself. I definitely don't want that for you. So let's talk about how to set these boundaries. The first thing, I think, the first step to setting personal boundaries is to identify your limits and your own boundaries. Like, identify your values. What are the things that you value? What are the things that are limits for you and why? So for some people, let's go back to the very simple example I gave at the start of the video, which is you don't take calls before 8 a.m. For some people, they're just not morning people. And so because of that, they don't want to speak to anyone early in the morning. And that's fair enough. Why? Because they know that in the morning, they're probably irrational or they're angry or they're cranky or they just simply don't feel like talking until it's past a certain time. So that's a boundary for them. On the flip side, for another person, the reason why they don't want to take calls before 8 a.m. is simply because they are, in fact, a morning person and they've set aside these hours of the morning to get good work done because this is when they're most productive and this is when they give out the best output. So it is better for them to focus and like be in the zone and do all the things that they need to get done within those hours. And taking calls at that time is just going to be a distraction. So these are two people with the same boundary, but for different reasons. And that's why I said the first step is to identify your own values and your own limits. What are the things that are important to you? What are your values? What are the things that you deem disrespectful? What are the things that are limits for you? Hard limits, soft limits, limits. What are the things that irritate you? What are the things that irk you? What are the things that you think if people in relationship with you do, it will put you off and could potentially spoil and damage the relationship? Identify those things, highlight them, and then think to yourself, okay, how can I set boundaries around these things such that it protects me, makes my life easier, makes my life better, and also allows the people in my life to relate with me in positive ways, such that they're not doing things that are pissing me off and I'm, snapping at them or is causing hurdles in our relationships. They also have like a sort of framework on how to interact with me and with me, that it makes our relationship great and positive and amazing. The next one, as usual, is that you should practice self-awareness. Will I ever not say this in a video? Probably not. But if you ever find a video where I don't mention self-awareness, you should on that day call it out in the comments, because I'd be shocked. But I think, again, I should have probably started with this point: practice self-awareness. The only way you would even know this boundaries to set and what areas of your life are requiring of boundaries is by being self-aware, knowing yourself, knowing what is important to you, knowing what you want, knowing what you don't want, knowing yourself enough to know that you are a morning person or you're not a morning person, knowing yourself enough to know that cheating is something you cannot possibly tolerate, rudeness, being with a partner that is disrespectful, for example, maybe not to you, but to other people, whatever it may look like. Not being in conversations with people that will curse at you or use swear words around you, not having people show up to your house unannounced, all these things can be boundaries. But the only way you would know to set these boundaries is by knowing yourself and knowing what is important to you and knowing what it is that you don't like. So practice self-awareness. The third point that I have is learning how to be assertive, communicate properly, and then communicate assertively. So knowing how to communicate to begin with, knowing how to use your words to express what is in your heart. I always say that we're too grown and we're too old to be doing catch with people's thoughts and feelings. I'm not a mind reader. I don't know how to read what is in your mind, but I can respect your words. So if you tell me this is how you feel about a certain thing, that helps me relate with you better. So if you want to practice, setting healthy boundaries and setting personal boundaries, a great way to start is by practicing communication, knowing how to actually talk to people and say the things that you want to say, the way you want those things said. Secondly is being assertive. So some people know how to talk and they're good with words, but they are not assertive. They're not confident. They're not able to speak a thing with authority and make it clear that I'm saying this and I'm standing on business. I said it, I meant it, that settles it, right? Practicing assertiveness. That's something you need to learn. It's something you need to develop. And then obviously communicating assertively. So not just being assertive without really communicating why this is something you need to be assertive about, or being assertive without really passing across the message that you're trying to pass across properly, because that can just come out as you being harsh or rude or difficult. But if you've already learned how to communicate properly and then you've learned how to be assertive, then you can communicate your boundaries assertively in a way where the people that are hearing you loud and clear, and they're also aware that this is not something you are going to, shake on or be woozy about. You said it, you mean it, and they have to respect that. The fourth point is learn how to say no. Learn how to say no. Sometimes when we say these things, it sounds almost to ourselves like we are saying crazy things. Like in big 2024, I shouldn't be having a conversation with you about learning how to say no. Like, no shit, you should know how to say no, right? But you'd be surprised that there are a lot of people that just simply don't know how to say no. And it's for different reasons. There's people that just don't feel like they want to let someone down. They don't want to make people be sad. There's also people that are people pleasers and just want to make everybody happy, which is very unrealistic, but that's not what this video is about. And yeah, there's just some people that are very easy to ride on, and they know that they're being ridden on. They hate it, but there's not much they can do about it. So they just find themselves going along with the flow. So I am here to tell you on this video that if you want to learn how to practice boundaries and having personal boundaries, then you must learn how to say no. When someone asks you to do something that you're not comfortable with doing, no. Just no. You know, when someone is asking you to do something that goes very clearly against a boundary that you have already set and communicated, no. Just no. And you must remind yourself that no is a full sentence. No is enough. You don't always have to justify your no. You don't always have to explain it. You don't always have to give context. I'm saying you don't always because I also recognize that there are instances where, you know, it's a conversation that is being had and you need to explain your stance to people, or you need to just give them context into why this is something that you're just not willing to do. But explaining it doesn't necessarily equal to justifying it. They don't need to agree that that is something that you don't want to do. The fact that you said you don't want to do it is enough. So practice saying no. And if you find that you're the kind of person that finds it difficult to say no, I'm very serious when I say practice it. Like, practice it for the heck of it. Start saying no to little things, things that you don't necessarily have to say no to, like, but just say no. Start small and get comfortable saying no, so that when the things that matter actually come up and it's a big thing, you can say no because you have practice. Okay. The next step, and I think this is my personal favorite one when it comes to setting boundaries, is establish consequences. For me, this is the height of standing on business. Establish consequences. When your boundary is crossed, then what? What happens after your boundary is crossed that makes a person know that you mean business? I said that I don't want this, you've done this, and now you have to deal with the consequences. Practice consequences, establish them, and communicate them. These consequences might look like having to remove people from your life, people that have made it a constant point to disregard your boundaries and just do however they like with your life because they think they can. Establish boundaries, cut them off, remove them from your, block them, delete their number. Air them. You know, establish consequences. It doesn't have to be very extreme, like I just said about cutting people off, but there should be boundaries. People cannot get away with disregarding your boundaries every single time and knowing that nothing will happen when they do that, because you're just teaching them that it's okay to do that. And you start to sound like a broken record. Like, yes, Oiza says you shouldn't call her before 8 a.m., but she'll always pick up anyway. You don't want that, because now you look like Boo Boo the Fool and you're not Boo Boo the Fool. So establish consequences. The last point that I have is surround yourself with people that respect and support your boundaries. People that understand the concept of boundaries to begin with. Because honestly, there's some people that just don't get it. And it's because they themselves don't practice boundaries. They have not been in scenarios or spaces or with people that practice boundaries. They've just always lived their lives in a very laissez-faire, anything goes kind of way. So I can understand why they don't regard your boundaries, but that's not an excuse. You've set your boundaries, you've communicated them assertively, you've established consequences, you know, you've learned how to say no, and they're consistently breaking these boundaries. That's not good enough. So you want to surround yourself with people that respect your boundaries and support your boundaries. These look like people that are also emotionally intelligent, people that are also self-aware, people that have their own boundaries, people that are ready to learn, they're teachable, they love you, they honor you, and they respect you. And so by virtue of that, they know that Oiza is important to me. I want Oiza in my life. She's a good addition to my life. She's valuable, and I want to have her in my life. So therefore, if this is how Oiza has set out for us that we would relate with her in a way that is beneficial to all of us, then we'll respect that and we'll do that. So yeah, I hope this video has taught you the importance of boundaries. I hope these steps, you find them useful in setting some personal boundaries for yourself. They really don't have to be anything major. They can be really small things, But I think it's good practice to have boundaries. This is setting boundaries, again, not just for the people that you're interacting with, because I recognize that that has been the context of this video, but also setting boundaries for yourself and how you speak to yourself, how you relate with yourself. I think if you start with setting personal boundaries that you need to uphold as a person, it teaches you and gives you the confidence to build those boundaries for other people that you're relating with to also learn and practice in the way that they relate with you. Just remind yourself, right, as you're going about your day, that you teach people how to treat you. People look at you to learn what is okay. If you are not respecting yourself, they are less likely to respect you. If you've shown them that you are always available, they are more likely to reach out to you at the oddest and most inconvenient times because, well, you always be there. If you've shown them that it's okay to speak to you a certain type of way, then they will continue to do that. But if you teach them that certain things are not okay, they will adjust if you are important to them and they want you in their life. Brain fart. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, leave a comment, tell me what you liked about it, and tell me if there's anything else you would like to hear regarding this subject. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.